Hey, I'm Duke on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it. Hey team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today with a pretty interesting take on Abzan depths. This is with feedback from HelloNewton, who of course is a very established Elves player, and he had a pretty cool take on Legacy Maverick and just the way that the deck should be approached, and really just making sure that there's kind of a way to build it without having a bad card in the deck per se, and just having a reasonable matchup against a lot of decks. There are some slight changes that I made, being a Maverick player, but I kept the main shell together. So the only changes that I made was I went down to 3 Thalias to add in a main deck Outland Liberator, which allows me to have a way to actually remove artifacts or enchantments in the main deck, which is really nice. And I kind of feel like the 4th copy of Thalia is there in the Once Upon a Times, so that's where a cut has been made. We then also have 1+ Birds of Paradise over a Noble Hierarch, so instead of having the 4 copies of Noble, we have 2 birds, which means we have access to black mana a little bit more, which is pretty vital. Things like Opposition Agent and Plague Engineer, you probably want as early as turn 2 against the decks where it's relevant. So having a turn 1 bird off, say, a forest, and then not having an actual fetch land or black source means you can hopefully untap and play one of those cards on turn 2. So pretty cool there. We took out a Script Ranger as well because we don't have Mother of Runes in this deck. I don't think it's worth solely on the mana, but that could be wrong. So I actually put in a Sylvan Safekeeper because I did want to have access to it through Green Suns. I do really still think protection in this deck is valid. I don't think this is the deck where you want to be aggressive with Safekeeper, but having it in the decks where cards like Gaddock Teeg or Collector Oof are going to be kind of your silver bullets to winning the match, I think it's really strong because against a deck like 8cast, where they're probably going to bounce Collector Oof, I think losing a land for that is more than fine. And of course, something like Tess or Ant, having Gaddock Teeg on the field, being able to play around really any sort of spell thanks to Safekeeper, and also getting rid of a land is, I think in that case, more than fine, because it's most likely going to get us the win, and that mana's going to be irrelevant. That was it. Otherwise, it's pretty cool. I haven't played with Opposition Agent online, but I think it's pretty underplayed generally because black at the moment isn't that great in the metagame. 2 Plague Engineers, 2 Chokes, 2 Force of Vigors, 3 Deafening Silence, and 4 Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize is a card that traditionally Maverick has splash for in the black splash, but we haven't seen it recently just because of the quality of cards. Usually when you're Thoughtseizing your opponent these days, you're taking a card, but the top decks that a lot of decks have that is so good that it's pretty hard to be able to, take Delver off a threat, or take that key card out of a combo player's hand, because the top of the deck of Legacy right now is just so strong. But I think having the knowledge is really nice, especially if it makes us have to play, a turn 2 Collector Oof or a Teeg, or potentially, build out mana. The knowledge that Thoughtseize gives you is really nice to have, especially in a deck where you do have to be pretty proactive. You do have to, play Teeg before your opponent can untap in Green Suns or Natural Order. You do have to play Collector Oof before they kind of drop all the artifacts to turn on Mox Opal or things like that. So Thoughtseize gives you a lot more awareness about how you're supposed to play, what creatures you're supposed to prioritize, your mana, how effective a Wasteland could potentially be, if you want to show the Wasteland or not. A lot of little things. So, turn 1 Thoughtseize is hopefully going to be pretty nice here. The one card that actually is missing here is Prismatic Ending, which is going to be really interesting to see how much we miss it. We do have Solitude as extra removal, which is nice. We obviously have Grist, which is pretty cool. So yeah, this should be pretty cool as kind of a thought experiment to see how does a creature-centric version of Maverick, especially the main deck, go in the current Legacy format. So yeah, a huge thank you to Newton for taking the time out to actually put together a list and give me his thoughts on, I guess, how Maverick should currently be sort of approached in the format, because I am all ears, especially from another Sylvan Syndicate player. And especially one of the caliber of Newton, for sure. So, Newton, if you're watching, big fan, of course. But yeah, it's it's a tough spot for Maverick these days. I think that a lot of players, from a competitive standpoint, have been moving towards Naya Depths, which rightly so. It is a fantastic deck, and even in paper, like with Minsc and Boo, it's an interesting point in Legacy where it's starting to get that divide where, especially with Green White Depths online, you obviously can't play Minsc and Boo. It's not in the in sort of the MTGO realm, but on paper, you definitely should be. It's a fantastic card. It's been putting up results. I see a lot of people playing one main, one side, two side, two mains. So I think people are pretty square on having two in the 75. It's just a case if you want it in the main deck or sideboard. Maddening Hex, another card, which obviously is going to be impacting Legacy over the next few months, a lot in paper, not online. And it's kind of splitting the format a little bit like Pauper was before there was that universal ban list. It was kind of the online meta and then the paper meta with different rulings around different cards. So a little bit sad to see. I think from a format where a lot of players love data, it's really tough to see that come to light in this. This is a pretty nice hand. The only thing I think we complain about here is probably the Knight not having a fetch land early on, but we have a lot of interaction. We have Spirit for any sort of control or combo deck, Solitude for anything goes too fast, so pretty happy to keep this. Alright, it's going to be a Saga play. Zurin Orb, okay, so most likely 8 cast, but you never know. Cradle. Not the dry one. So here, I'm not really scared of Wasteland because of the Saga here. I assume my opponent has a Soul Land. So I think we can just lead on the Savannah here, which allows us to hold up the Sword. I could also play the Forest, but the downside of that is not being able to hold up Sword here, so I think Savannah's fine. Yeah, Boo off Minsc and Boo is an interesting one because it's obviously made as a 1/1, and then it can be responded to when you do tick up Minsc and Boo. Okay, there's Ancient Tomb. I think the best draw here is probably just Wasteland. It does take us back a turn, but it's exactly where I want to be. Also pretty happy here to drop the Spirit. And then we can just hold up Sword later down the line. So my opponent will get a 2/2 construct and then most likely make it a 3/3. And then I'm not sure what they get. Maybe a Shadow Spear. Potentially a Pithing Needle to name something like Wasteland. Very cute. They get to sack the the Saga for 2 life, which is pretty cool. Which, to be fair, is relevant with the Ancient Tomb on the field. They do go for Needle. And then in Wasteland, okay. Another one. So I could be really aggressive here if I wanted to. I could Solitude this construct, probably getting rid of these Swords to Plowshares, and then block this one. We haven't seen a color yet, so I'm not too sure if this is an 8-cast deck or just a colorless deck that does this. I want to have a good think. Yeah, the Orb's definitely interesting. I think there's a better chance of me winning this game if I actually allow this to come through. And then get to a stage where I don't have to start 2-for-1ing myself. Noble's quite nice. Noble's free if I play out the Cradle. also not blocking this turn. Because next turn they'll have the Saga open, which means these can be 5/5s at least. So I want to kind of get to a stage where I can Swords one and then Solitude the other. But definitely a little bit risky. You know, they're obviously getting pretty big here. Gemstone Mine, okay. Lotus Petal. Make a token, sure. Teeg I don't think is relevant here. There's also not a way here, I believe, to get in both the Knight and the Solitude without doing something spicy like playing the Endurance off the Gaddock Teeg. We're definitely playing this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess I do have the option of playing out Gaddock Teeg. And then we also have double white and 3 mana for the Solitude. Hey Star Fox, welcome. Yeah, maybe just for chump blocking duty, this is okay. Because even if I play out Knight here, there's no way to have triple white. There's no way to play Knight and hold up Solitude, I believe. Because just looking at the board, if I tap Forest, Noble, Savannah, we then have 3 4 mana. If I tap Cradle and Savannah, we still have 3 mana. So I think it is just going to be the Teeg. Hey Sato Sand, welcome. Hope you're well as well. Alright, so I don't think I have to respond to this Saga here. I definitely could to make them lose less life. But if they get a Shadow Spear here, I potentially want to hit the one they target, not the one... Yeah, so I think I have to let this slide. Allow them to search. They go for Mox Opal, okay. Cast Solitude. Take one out. I think I do want to double block here with Solitude and Spirit just to kill them. There is a world where I could hold back the Solitude and try to get through the other construct, but I don't think that's going to be a great spot. Hey Vegeta, welcome. Yeah, the needle really strong here. We do have a 6 mana next turn to just play both of these, which is quite nice. Teferi. Just ticking up. Okay. I think I just want to draw a card first, because I can still play Wasteland, use 3 mana to cast Knight, and then the Cradle just holds up Endurance, which I will have to play at sorcery speed due to the Teferi, but I think drawing a card here is more than fine. Scrubland, okay. I will still play the Wasteland. Play Knight. Play Endurance. Potentially putting my cards back in the bin, but I kind of want to make this Knight bigger ASAP. The reason I'll target myself is because the Swords and the Solitude are quite good, but potentially not worth either. Like, I don't want to give them back either sagas either, so I think we're just going to pass here. Interesting deck for sure. But yeah, this is the matchup where I'd love to have the... They're offering the trade, which is pretty interesting. I could block here with both Teeg and Endurance. Unless they're a Khan deck. They're potentially a Khan deck and want me to get rid of the Teeg. So I'm actually just going to allow this to happen. Because this Knight's going to get pretty huge anyway, that I can probably take one more block. See if they want to bounce the Knight here with Teferi or not. But Teeg also turns off our own Green Sun, so as a top deck, that's not great. And there goes the Teeg. Interesting. Pedal. 2, 3, 4, 5 mana currently. Burning Wish. I did not expect Burning Wish. Potentially an Echo deck as well? This is always a tough one, a tough sort of deck to sideboard against. Like, obviously the Force of Vigors are easy, that's 2, but like, do I want all Thoughtseize? Do I want Deafening Silence? Do I want the opposition agents because of Saga? You don't want to over sideboard either. Like, if you were a player who brought in, like, on the play, Deafening Silence, Thoughtseize, and Forces, you could be taking out a lot of cards. Especially a lot of creatures as well, that really changes how fast you can clock your opponent. Because typically with Thoughtseize, you want to disrupt them a little bit, and then make sure that you have the pressure to back it up before they kind of draw back into what they need. So there's definitely cases where you just run into too many things. Ooh, Restore Balance? Huh. Okay. Spice. Hey, Punishing Waterfalls, welcome. Oh my gosh. So that's why they're playing Zeranob. Cute. I guess we'll keep the Knight. I think we still kill the Teferi here. I mean, if they have 3 cards that deal lethal, it's pretty bad, but... I could also Green Sun for 2. I think getting Teferi with a board first is where I want to be. Crushing Footfalls. Okay, well that takes a bit of time. Alright, now we're just sitting back for a bit. Just gonna get a fetch land here. Okay. Arbor isn't gone. Is there a world where over 2 turns I can get there? Like, we're down to 1. I think I'd rather just bash and have the Noble as a blocker. Like, if they have a bounce spell or a removal spell, it probably hits either, that it doesn't matter that Noble's a 0/1 and Knight's a bigger creature. Because I definitely lose if the Crushing Footfalls gets there. Hey, PT Bench, a huge thank you for the raid. Welcome all those from PT Bench's stream. Hope you're doing well. My name is Dukes on Twitch. I usually stream Legacy Maverick or Green White Depths. Unfortunately, a fetch land doesn't do it for us. Because we could draw a fetch land, then Green Sun's for safekeeper to get lethal, but we are at 1 life, so that doesn't work. Endurance is kind of cool. Honestly, I think it's Teeg attack. And then this still has 2 counters on it, so... Opponent might be forced to jump next turn. But hey PT, what did you play? And how did you go? Another Saga's more than fine. That is 4 mana if that's relevant. But surely not with the Teeg on the field. Defense crit is fine. Alright, no attacks. A land here would be actually really nice. Ooh, sword does it because they go up to 11 and then we attack for 12. No, because they have the Ziranor, but still. That's actually an interesting one. So we obviously can't Green Suns because the Teeg is in play. I guess then at least they have to sack the, yeah, I think that's fine. They go to 13, they go to 1. They get their rhinos. All right. Once. Doesn't do it. I think here I just have to hold up both Knight and Teeg and hold up Endurance Hardcast off the Knight. But it's tough. Because if I want to Endurance, I have to tap the Knight, which means I can't block with both. Grid? Oof. No, at least they can't attack either. Oh, trample? Oh, yep. Yeah. Tough. Well, hopefully they don't see it. Tough. Just one of those things. A little bit like Chalice. Sometimes it's on the board, and then like 10 turns later, you just kind of forget about it. Unless they think I have another Cradle. Scared of Maze? Potentially. But then the Maze untaps the Rhino, which allows them to block with it, so... Maybe they're just trying to think through what we could have, and I think it comes down to us just not having it, but... This is a pretty sweet game. Interesting that it came down to the one life apiece. Oh, they didn't attack? Oh my gosh. Is it worth getting a land out of the deck? Oh, it is. It's worth getting Dried Arbor, right? Because then we can just attack with everything? Nice. Oof. Wow. All right. Definitely stole that one. Okay. So we are looking at a Restore Balance to Fairy style deck. I definitely like the Force of Vigors. Hey, GM Miller. Thanks for the Prime sub. A huge thank you. The T can most likely come out. The Safekeeper is interesting. I do like the Safekeeper because it keeps Collector Oof protected. The Spirits don't seem great. Thalia's seem okay, but not the greatest. I think I'd rather just be lower. Like, Agent's definitely interesting with the Sagas, but I'd probably rather deal with the Sagas before they actually start searching. So it could just be the Thoughtseizers. Ramanap, Endurance is probably medium as well. Like, maybe I'll just try out the opposition agents. I think we're just going to go with this and see how it slides. Killed an Emrakul with an Asmo. Very cool. Very cool to see you trying out Asmo as well. I think that's awesome. This hand is pretty sweet. We have a turn 4/4, a turn 3 4/4 Knight. We have removal and Grist. Turn 1 Thoughtseize or Wasteland. Pretty happy to keep this. Saga, obviously one of the best targets here, but a Chalice kind of changes things with this Wasteland. Okay. Pretty happy to take them off the Soul Land. I think because we have Force of Vigor as a Saga Chalice target, I'm pretty happy just to allow them to have this. Oh, no land? That's huge. Here I'm just going to ramp. Getting a scrubland. I could also just green suns for oof next turn, but like what does a mana dork actually achieve? Nothing really. Like next turn we're gonna be knighting anyway with her mana left over. Hey Mark, welcome. But yeah, potentially Grist. They're gonna lose this saga though, so that's pretty interesting. Yeah. I'm actually just gonna pass. Because like green sounds for Outland Liberator as well is just so good. Wonder what they get here, if they get like a Mox Opal. I would have fetched anyway in response in case they get Pithing Needle. It could also just be Needle here, name Wasteland. A few things. They go for Petal. Mox. 3 mana. Another Mox. As foretold. Yikes. Guess we keep the fetch land. I guess against this version, Deafening Silence is also pretty good on the draw. Okay. Yeah, I guess the once is actually free. I should have definitely cast it in response to the defense grid. Sorry, I was just looking at chat. Tough. Yeah, now the defense, I guess we can do it now. Outland Liberator would be sweet. Oh my gosh. No. Let's recoup. Yeah, that's just streamer brain. Agents can come out. I'm gonna go down on Solitude as well. Yeah, I could have definitely done a lot better there, but yeah, I think Thalia is actually okay on the draw. On the play, sorry. I don't mind this. If we go bio Thoughtseize. Yeah, I definitely could have brought back the Thalias, but I think overall it's just a case of going straight for Collector Oof or Outland Liberator. I don't mind the endurance here, it's just an actual threat. One, two. They have a fair bit of mana here. It's between the Electro Dominance and the Burning Wish. Yeah, I literally just missed sideboarded. I just went back into the same deck pretty much. I think it's the Wish. It's not like I can turn off Metalcraft here. But if they naturally have Restore Balance, it's pretty tough as well. Yeah, I think because Burning Wish could potentially find them either piece. Oh, it's sorcery. I think it's Burning Wish. It's a tough one though. I feel like Burning Wish can not only give them the combo, but also get them out of any predicaments. That is pretty strong. I could keep this for... Saga, but I think we have enough outs to find another way to get rid of a Saga. Of course, a Zero Orb. Still not the worst. I'm still happy to take them off the 2 mana. Okay. Okay, that's pretty strong. Yeah, I think getting Endurance online now is just being 4 a turn is quite good as a clock, and having the Silence on board makes me less weary of this Electro Dominance. They're going to cast the Chrome Marks. Pitching it, okay. Yeah, okay. I think Knight here is just better than holding up Endurance. And I don't feel like I need to hold up the sword here either. Okay. It's definitely scary. They have 2 cards left. I didn't mean to click, but I guess taking them off the Mox Opal isn't the worst. They do have 1, but they... Yeah, I think defense could just better there. I think I'm still happy to attack for 5, 15, end step, endurance, and then it's pretty much a 2-turn clock. I don't think there's a reason why I want to hold up the Knight here. Yeah, I could definitely get Canopy. 15. or keep them at 20, get canopy, 6. Yep. I might even just want to... Yeah, I think here I just want to hold up the endurance post balance. Hey, Echo. Yeah, I think we're just going to attack here. I could target myself if I really wanted to hit lands, but I think here I'm okay. I think I will put them on the bottom. Okay. I could have played the knight, but I don't think life in this matchup is going to be relevant. The other thought was holding up the Savannah for Dryad Arbor. But now they'll be able to get a 1, 2, 4, 4. Down to 0 cards. So a land here would actually be pretty nice. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. They either get Needle here for Wasteland, or even just name Knight. I think they just name Knight with Needle. Just cut out the middleman. Wow, they're going to attack. Oof. Jeez. I don't think the double block puts me in a winning position, because then they still have a 6/6. I guess they could potentially... I could then keep one, but if I keep the endurance isn't doing too much. Yeah, I can't even double attack here. Yeah, I assume they go for endurance. I guess they're also not dead because of the Zero Orb, so a double attack doesn't make sense anyway. They could also get Ramanap if they wanted to, but they already played a land. I think endurance is just the best. Because then we just have to chump. And yeah, not looking good. Not getting Force of Vigor was pretty huge. Like a Green Suns for Collect Oof or Outland Liberator. Also just not recognizing that we could once on our turn was pretty big as well. And they get Solitude. Okay. Yeah, sadly I don't think we have any outs. Tough. Yeah, definitely some small mistakes there that added up. But also just kind of didn't really get the side of the deck that I wanted. Kind of allowed them just to do what they wanted with the Outs for Tolds. But cool deck. Cool to see a bit of brewing in Legacy. Cool to see Newton before go as well. I believe he went 9-1 over 2 leagues, which is pretty awesome. Maybe even the mulligan could have been better. instead of just keeping 4-land Noble Swords Thoughtseize. But one being a Wasteland is quite nice. It might have also just been 2 lands Wasteland once. Noble Sword Thoughtseize. Which is pretty nice, but you don't really need the sword if you have the Wasteland for Saga, so it's kind of a 6 anyway. So I think it probably is better to mulligan a little bit more aggressively. At least towards a hand with either Force or a Green Suns. Because if I don't find a kind of silver bullet like Collect Oof or Outland Liberator there, it's just a bit tough to not allow them just to do what they want to do and not really care about our kind of fair strategy of just beat down. Also, big shout out to Delta, who I believe is pretty much doing each of these trophies with different decks, it seems, on Twitter. A bit of Painter, but honestly, probably like at least 20 different decks I've seen on Twitter, which is pretty sweet. Usually it's someone who's just on a pretty unfair deck that's up there, but yeah. Pretty cool to see the trophy leader getting there with a whole bunch of different archetypes. Including a pretty cool take on like Abzan. It might have just been green-white Eldrazi, which is pretty cool. And again, kind of saw the downtick of Thoughtseize there, where you get to take a card, but the top decks are just so good these days that Thoughtseize is a tough one to rely on if you don't have a fast clock, kind of like Elves does with Natural Order. Nice. Alright, on the play, which is nice. Yeah, this hand is great. Happy to keep this. Gonna keep the fetch in case I need it. There's a world where I might want to fetch up a Dried Arbor for the Grist and keep the Noble. So I'm pretty happy just to lead on Savannah Noble. Basic Island. Chose to shuffle pretty quickly. Pretty happy just to play Spirit around Days. And attack. Especially against a blue deck that just shuffled on their Ponder. They're most likely looking for something specific. And could potentially have another cantrip in hand. Nice. Hey Granham, welcome. I haven't tried a Vile Maverick list. It is pretty cool. I think the issue that I would have with that is trying to find the space for like a Green Suns package alongside a Saga package, alongside like a mana base that kind of supports both. Because you obviously want a high density of creatures with Vile, but you also want to have like a pretty good package with a Saga package. I don't think we are, but I'm sure you can find me. There's not many of me in the world. I think here it's just going to be Grist. Yeah, that'd be really cool. Alright, there goes a Solitude. I'll send you a private message with my name after, if that's cool. Folk. This could be sneak if it's going to be... Oh, it's going to be bolt. Okay. So potentially still like a blue-red Delver deck. Which his hand is quite good against. Yeah, okay. They have the bauble, that's fine. I kind of want to play this sword around days. I don't want to just swords this shredder right now. They chose to shuffle. Also getting close to this Solitude just being playable around days, which is pretty sweet. Let's go for sword first. Nice. Land. Knight. Cool. Tick up. Putting a land in the bin would be huge because it would mean that the knight would be a 4/4 with this fetch land on the field. No. But that is fine. Yeah, there is a world where a force on the swords is pretty good for us because then we can just take over the board potentially without having to worry too much about the ledger. Sanctuary. Get back bolt. This is actually not too bad. I mean, I could just go for a Dried Arbor here and just start getting really aggressive by going wide. Especially without like a main deck and the festivities as well. One, two, three, four. Okay. I meant to play the bird. Apologies, I just clicked a little bit too early. Bird's pretty relevant as well because it allows me to play the Solitude around days. How do I want to go about this? 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're currently at 6. At least Knight's bigger. Okay. They also have to attack with these DRCs, which is actually pretty good for us. Could have also taken down the Grist, taken out a DRC, then kept Grist on 1. Yeah, to be fair, we were also on the play and we had a pretty nice hand against Delver. Sometimes that lines up well, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have like your collect oof hands or you don't have removal in the opener and they have a turn 1 play. Like their first threat, I think, was turn 4. Because they went Ponder, Pass, Bolt, Untap, Shredder. So, not the quickest start I've seen. Petty theft. Okay. It's quite aggressive. Attacking the Grist is really nice. It's kind of like a fog for us. We don't really mind. Oof. Well, we're definitely ticking this up. Planes goes to the bin. I don't mind just casting this right now to see what happens. This takes a Murktide off the field, which is quite nice. Get to play bird. And then just attack with everything. Grist just going wide in game 1 is so good. Because it gets to a stage where every insect has to be answered. Heads up play here by my opponent, going for a second main phase sort of play to make these DRCs 3/3s without having to attack. But it might just be too much. Because they have to block more than 2 creatures here. Obviously, Brazen Burrower can't block. Here's Murktide, which we can just neg on the Grist. They have 2 cards left. I think here I'm pretty happy to see if they have anything. Like, even if they have days here, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. I think any sort of play there would have been fine. Didn't really even need to cast the Solitude, which kind of shows everything. Honestly, in this matchup, it's just going to be the Oof and the Liberator for the 2 chokes, which aren't the greatest on the draw, but they're kind of better than anything else. I think, like, most of the time we're just wanting to keep a hand that has at least 1 removal spell in it with some mana acceleration, and then we're pretty good. But like the chokes are nice. I think the big thing about choke is just being patient, not playing it on a board where they already have threats in play, because typically you're just going to untap, well, if you do get to untap, die the next turn. Like this is a pretty nice hand. Like the Dried Arbor kind of makes this a 6, but we can hopefully get this knight up to a 4/4 pretty early on to get out of bolt range. We have a Solitude as well, which is quite nice. If Agent had Reach, I would like it a lot more. No turn 1 play is pretty huge for us. Savannah. Kind of like just playing it out. Playing around Wasteland a little bit because typically for me this means I have like an end step bolt. And I don't want them to go to like bolt into Wasteland. I want to develop a little bit so I can get up to these. We also don't really need our black post board, so we can just get a basic planes off this, which also gives us access to the second white for Solitude. And that's actually a perfect draw, because now we get to swords their first threat around days. Could also bait out with the Dried Arbor. That's pretty interesting. Also gets another land into the bin, which is relevant for the knight to be a 4/4. We haven't seen any Unholy Heat, but definitely thought of that in the deck. Still no threat, so it's pretty good for us. I think I actually just like slamming Choke next turn. I'd much rather my threats make it onto the board. And I'd much rather the counter magic go towards Choke than my removal. I am just going to get a basic here, so I'm going to take it out of the deck. We also have a... So this list is nice because I do have a third basic in this list. We have 2 forests, which is really nice. It's kind of a play towards Delver, and just being able to play my 3 drops without having to worry about Wasteland. That is more than fine. The reason that I like keeping the knight to play around days is that it is my way to win as well. Murktide's going to be fine. We do also have Bojuka Bog in this list, so that's something to think about. 3 cards for my opponent. I guess 4 with the Bauble, which probably just makes me want to upkeep Sword. They have Force. See what I draw into. Cradle. I kind of feel like here I have to just play the knight. I have 2 cards. It's a little bit odd though, because if we play the Savannah this turn, then the Cradle and Arbor both don't do anything, especially if the knight doesn't survive. But I don't think like Solitude the Murktide is good enough here. I think it's a case of making them have days as well. Or just force to take an expressive iteration, which is nice. Looks like they might have another Murktide. Oh, just another expressive. Hopefully they fetch here. No, they don't. Oh, they do here for Mystic Sanctuary, and then we get to Endurance them in response. It's pretty good. They have one card in hand. Okay. Well, that does make the Murktide bigger, of course, but we do have the Solitude coming, hopefully, for that. Okay. Teeg we don't want to cast because we want double white for Solitude. So I think here we just main phase this, which allows me to potentially play or attack with the Dried Arbor. Bolting me. Wow. Price. Jeez. Which is lethal? Yep. It's just gonna be a run back. Like, potentially on the play, like, Plague is better than Teeg, but definitely interesting. I think I'm just gonna run it back. Pretty happy to keep this. This is actually a really nice hand. We get to accelerate into Green Suns, which is pretty sweet. Yeah, Thoughtseize is nice on an early draw, but Thoughtseize as a top deck can be a little bit rough. The question is, do I want to go for basic? I don't mind going for basic here. The only downside here is that we can't double spell, we can't go swords into Thalia, but that's more than fine. Okay. Wow. Didn't expect that trade. Especially when we have basics down. Unless they have multiple threats. I'm probably also happy not playing Bog this turn. But it is, like, Bog is interesting because if we hold Bog, like, next turn they cannot cast Murktide, which is great. They can't force the Spirit here. If we play the Bog now and then draw a green source, we play around something like End the Festivities and then Days on Endurance. So I don't mind playing the Bog here, just to keep making my land drops. But I can see a world where you might want to keep both. Wow. Alright, now I'm pretty happy to holding these down, not playing out the spirit. But there is a world where it's worth playing the spirit. They didn't have... Yeah, they didn't have... in the festivities there. This does change the clock as well from 3 turns. We did see Brazen Borrower. Yeah, maybe it's worth just doing this. Like, at least they can't EI into end the festivities. This also might draw out a Force of Will, which is pretty huge. Kind of take some of this sting out of a expressive iteration. Look at that, Lawrence. Okay. Now they're really looking for end. Double dig. Okay. You find a price of progress. It's not great here. Ooh. I still like playing Thalia here. There's no great 2-drop to get. But I could get something like Teeg if I really wanted to. But Teeg doesn't really stop anything anyway. I think Thalia is just best at applying pressure to their cantrips. Force is fine. I don't think it's worth like throwing the green suns away here for the endurance either. Okay. This is interesting as well because it is you have to draw the card. That could be worth endurancing, but again, I'm pretty happy as is. Like, we kind of can just untap here and hopefully get there. Once is actually pretty strong. That gives us a second white source. Start with sword. They're going to play the Brazen Borrower. They want to counter it and then draw and pitch. But now they're just dead to the board, because this can't block. Yeah. Not too sure what the play with there was. Anyway, glad to get it. We're on the board, which is nice. I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick. I'll be back in a second. Oof, it is cold. Nice to get up against Delver though. Always pretty back and forth. Maverick definitely has the tools to beat it, especially this version with the four endurance. Is quite nice. Yeah, why not? Also don't mind just fetching for Savannah into Hierarch here. I'm not too sure what my opponent is on. Tundra. Prismatic Ending? Okay. Hey Duke, welcome. I could double spell here or just go straight into Spirit, and I like just jamming Spirit, especially when they started off with a removal spell. Like Force here is more than fine. Okay. They're probably the Loam version. Oh, Delver. Okay. Didn't expect that. Probably just going to go for an Endurance next turn, potentially off the Green Suns. Yeah, Nideps is sweet. It is tricky though because one little mistake can definitely snowball into a loss a few turns later. The question is if they attack with the Delver, am I okay going for a block with the Safekeeper? And I think I am, just keeping another threat off the board. They chose to not shuffle. Can we get sleeves from Nick yet, Dukes? That's a good question. I'm not too sure when the sleeves are going live, but I feel like it's sooner rather than later, which is really nice. The sleeves look sweet and the deck boxes look really cool, so yeah, definitely keep an eye out for the MTG Mate sleeves and deck boxes. Obviously a sponsor of the channel, obviously a stand-up guy, Nick, and the team at MTG Mate. Put him with 4 cards in hand. The question is, do I want to get Knight with the Green Suns, or do I want to get Endurance? I feel like Endurance because it holds the board well, and it also keeps a Murktide off the field. Here we can just sack this anyway to get protection. No attacks. I kind of like keeping the Green Suns for now. And getting towards that 3 mana. All right. Turn too late, unfortunately. I still want to play it as it allows me to green suns for Grist. Still no flip. Alright, so they have 2 cards. I don't mind fetching out Dried Arbor here. I definitely don't want to draw it. Spirit. I don't think I have the time to play around days, so I kind of just have to go for it here. But it's tough what I'm going to sack. I think I'm going to sack the Collector Oof, but I should have attacked first for 3. I definitely want the 4th land. I think I want the Safekeeper as well, so definitely unfortunate. And hopefully this doesn't come down to me misstepping there and losing out on that 3 damage. Stifle? Jeez. That's pretty rough. I mean, Stifle is best when you don't expect it. I mean, we have to fade another Delver flip here, or else it's just game. Oh my gosh. All right, second Delver. Knight. Recruiter of the Guard can get Grist. I think it can definitely get a creature, but I'm not sure of the power and toughness thing. So I feel like it can't because it doesn't declare what the power of toughness is. I don't think it's assumed that it's 0, but I could be wrong. All right, here it is. Oh, there it is. Tough. Choke on the play. I don't mind like 1 Thoughtseize, taking out Liberator and Oof. I think that's fine. Hey, Burden One, welcome. Hope you're well. Tight game. Yeah, Ooze is tough. I feel like Endurance does exactly what I want against the graveyard decks at the moment. Lion Sash is pretty cool in D&T because of course you can Recruiter and Stoneforge for it. But yeah, Ooze, a lot of the time it's just, there's better things to do with my mana, and Endurance is just really nice and clean at what it does, that it's hard to kind of fit Ooze in when you have the Endurances. But there's definitely a metagame for it. But yeah, I think Ooze sadly is now, like Newton said it best, that it's kind of powered out of Legacy. But it's obviously a lot better in a deck with Cradles and Creatures. But yeah, I could still see it in the deck, especially against Delver, where getting it to a 4/4 and that little bit of life gain can be relevant. Or even keeping your opponent off Delirium with DRC. There's always some cool things where they have to attack with it, and then you can take out, say, Artifact and then block the 1/1. Yeah, I definitely miss Ooze. But yeah, I think against Delver variants, it's pretty good here. Sarah's Sanctum. Now that's a spicy card. Yeah, I'm pretty happy to keep this, especially with the once. I want to find a land, so I don't want to fetch first. Okay, we even find the plains, which is pretty cool. I could go for Savannah into Green Suns here, which allows me to untap and then Swords and Wasteland potentially. I don't think that's too greedy. Especially having multiple things to do with my white mana. Yeah, I was definitely thinking about not killing because of the like either Delver being relevant, but I thought that there might be a case where we could tick down the Grist, get rid of one, and then have a Swords for the other or top deck, just in case they did get to a stage where they both flipped before we dealt lethal to them. Could also pass there with just holding up Sword, but like, yeah, the thought of them not having a land here is just huge, that I'm pretty happy just to see where this goes. That's pretty interesting. I think here I rather play the Knight and bait out a Force than play the Ramanap. Yeah. Really want to try to get value off this Ramanap. But this build looks like the build that True Hero won the Legacy Showcase, I'm going to say, with. Yeah, I think Choke here is probably just best. It's probably the card that I least care about. Yeah, okay. This is one for Ali. I know he's a big fan of the Choke concessions. That was game 2. I don't mind the Plague on the draw, especially knowing about Esper Sentinel. Thoughtseize on the draw is just a little less appealing. Oh, a 0-lander. Yikes. A 1-lander with once, and also Solitude and Swords, Endurance. I'm going to keep this. I think I'm going to bottom the Choke, potentially. I think that's just the card that's, like, I'd rather be a bit more defensive. I think on the draw as well, but this hand has a lot of ways to clear the board and then land a Choke. It's definitely not... I think these 4 are definites. And then it's between one of these. I think Solitude is just too good as well. Even though most of the time on the draw it's going to be a 2-for-1. This is actually pretty interesting. Chat, what do you think? We've got a lot of time, so I'm happy to take what you guys think and why. To Solitude? Okay. My only thought is on the draw, I like having 2 pieces of removal. Could be Solitude. And then I'm just going to do an upkeep once to play around Days. I could also play Plains Pass and just take an extra draw. I don't mind that. I don't mind digging 1 deeper. Okay. No turn 1 play is really nice for us. Yeah, it's very true. Like, if we draw, like, basic planes, then potentially the ones can start looking for a creature rather than a land. Or even a fetch land here. I'd be happy to draw a fetch land to be able to fetch around Stifle. Our opponent also mulled to 6, which is relevant, and they chose not to shuffle on the Ponder. Alright. Delver's going to be fine. I am going to once now. Oof. I guess we take the Wasteland. And I think here I'd rather take them off the Volk. I don't think the Wasteland is doing too much for us anyway. Like, I don't think my opponent brought in Force Negation, or kept in Force Negation, so I'm happy to make that trade. Also, to have the double endurance is quite nice. No Delver flip. Okay. No land either. Huge. Nothing for us. It's funny because now we're in between, like, does the Delver want to flip? Do we want to see them not draw a land? Nice, perfect. Go and get a basic. Play around this wasteland, forest, and we're just going to play the Noble Hierarchy here. Bolt. Okay, but no land just yet, so still all good for us. We're also going to main phase this endurance. They're going to force it, pitching a Murktide. That's fine. All right. Do they go after the Noble Hierarch? That's the big question. They don't. Wow. Oh, our land is huge as well. I'm just going to pass here with the Endurance open. Like, if they have Stifle End Days, they have Stifle End Days, but if they don't, it's pretty huge for us. That's a pretty big trade. That is more than fine. I am happy to fetch and just grab the basic out of the deck, the last basic. We do have a Plague Engineer in the deck, but chances of drawing that are pretty high. That's very true. They could wasteland the fetch land in response, and then daze in response to us going for it. I don't mind choke here. Choke, play second Hierarch. Like, I would love to see another Force of Will on this, but yeah. Since we drew the land, we can once and night around days, which is really nice. Ugh. Guess we take the bog. I don't think it actually matters, to be fair. But I will fetch in case they do have, like, you know, days to return the Volk. But yeah, really, really tough spot for them. Okay. I'm gonna see if they respond to this or not, because we can get a Safekeeper. There's no real reason not to cast the choke here. It's for you, Ali. Nice. I'm definitely feeling like I'm missing Prismatic Ending, but it's also been kind of nice without it. Haven't like drastically need it, but again, like against any sort of Delver deck, it's obviously quite nice to have. I don't mind this, especially with the Cradle. It's kind of a mulligan with the Dried Arbor, and I probably would keep this 6, so... Oof, Underground Sea, GG. Haha, that's tough. Ah, it must be 2-1? Is this game... Yeah, it would be 2-1, apologies. Okay. I think we're just playing the Canopy this turn, and playing the Ramanap. That way we can draw a card next turn if needed. Hey Bob Mans. Hope you're doing well. Okay. Chose to shuffle. Two cards on the bottom. So next turn we get 2 draws at either Thalia, Spirit, or Green Suns. And with Cradle, we get to have 3 mana, which is really nice. Yeah, I'm going to assume Ant as well. Oh, there's Thalia. Okay, that's pretty huge. I think we just go for Thalia here. I was trying to think if there's any better draw, but I don't think there is. I think we'd rather just replay the Windswept Heath. Could also get the Dried Arbor into play. I think we just start with Thalia, and then end step draw a card off Cradle. Could also just draw with Cradle right now. Look, we're going for Thalia, and we're playing Cradle, and we're going to use it here in case we draw into another Noble. And Green Suns is pretty good. We could Green Suns for nothing here because the Dried Arbor's in hand, but that just means we have a great next turn to follow up with Gaddock Teeg, which is pretty much a lock. It's obviously very hard. Okay, they're going to play out an LED here, potentially. Pedal, okay. Yeah, honestly, I think here it's just going to be Green Sun's Fatigue. So 3 mana, 4 mana. I think Teeg is better than Oof. Because Teeg turns off Adnors, it turns off Empty, it turns off Past in Flames, it turns off Tendrils. It turns off all their win cons. I think it's pretty close. Like, unless they, like, Burning Wish for, like, I'm not even sure. It is tough because if we get Collect Oof and draw into a another Green Suns, we obviously then can go for Gaddock Teeg off that one. But if we go for Teeg first, we can't then draw into a Collect Oof and go for it. But I think it's going to be Teeg. Yeah, I think I just have to go for, like, allow them to have the mana of Lotus Petals and LEDs in the Storm, but don't allow them to actually cast anything. And then we have 4 here, which is 10. And then next turn, 2, 4, 7 Dried Arbor. I think I will just get the Canopy here and draw a card end step rather than playing the Dried Arbor, because it's 3 turns anyway. Duress is fine. Okay, that's pretty strong. Oof. I do like Wasteland here. There's no real great hit, but... Knight's also nice because it turns on the ability to Caracas back Teeg, Green Suns for Oof, and then replay Teeg. If needed, but... Surely here with 4 cards for my opponent, it's going to be pretty hard. Because even if you get to deal with the smaller creatures, we will have the Knight to finish things off. Post-board, we got a lot of stuff. So we're going to be taking out these 7 most likely. The Grist can also come out. The Thought Seizers are obviously great. I don't even mind going down on Once Upon a Times. Like, pretty much all of this could come in. Force of Vigor probably the least, but typically with a deck against Thalia, they usually play out their artifacts a little bit earlier, so you can force something like an LED. I kind of like that Once can dig though. Endurance is okay, but I think could also, like, I could also go down to, like, cut down on Endurance at night to bring in opposition agents as those 3 drops. Like a Plague just to get rid of Empty would be kind of cool. I don't mind just going down to 2 and 2 and then just having like 1 Plague, 1 Choke. Maybe just 2 Plagues. Usually against Ant, they just try to go for an early Empty and go wide. So we can slow that down, that's pretty good. We can also aggressively mulligan to turn 1 interaction in either Deafening Silence or Thoughtseize. This is a nice hand, but it's just too slow, unfortunately. No. Honestly, this isn't any better than the 6 hand, but we're also down to 4 cards. So I think here, honestly, we just keep double Thalia Plains Wasteland. We could also drop the Wasteland and keep the Once to try to find like a green source as well. I don't mind that. A little bit risky, but on the draw against the Ant's always going to be a lot harder. Opponent kept 7. At least if they dress us. There's the land. Come on, Deafening Silence. Green Suns is definitely interesting. I don't mind fetching here, because it also turns on Wasteland as a play next turn. I guess yeah, it's tough because I can't Wasteland and Thalia next turn. Unless I got Savannah, but then I can't draw into a black source. I can't fetch a black source. 2 cards on the bottom with Preordain. Oh, oh, okay. Well, there we go. All right. It's probably either here, the Tutor, or the Brainstorm. But because they have the LED, I could also see LED being taken. Then they don't have a great way to lose their hand. Also, they have to draw a land if they want to Brainstorm through the Thalia. So I think it's just going to be the LED here. It's definitely not the Dark Ritual. It's definitely not the Cabal Ritual. It's definitely not the Past in Flames. I think it is just the LED. The only reason why it's nice to take something else is because we have Collector Oof in the deck. Hey Shen, Vacay was really nice, thank you. Really, really, really nice. Probably the best weekend of the year. I think it's LED. Just trying to have a quick think. Yeah, I think it's just LED because of how well that hand lines up for Thalia. Also, LED, of course, is a card they can't get back with the Past in Flames. They play an LED. Okay, so they drew the LED. Knight. That is fantastic. Like, that's just runner. Like, now it's really tough for them. They drew the land. Can they just try to Darkrit Cabal Infernal Tutor? They kind of have to. Oh, they do nothing? I didn't expect that. Like, we know the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the question is... in the Northern Alps with your fiance? Very nice. Very, very nice. Hope you guys are having a great time. If I kill the Dryad over here, does it change the clock? It's currently a 4-turn clock. But to be fair, 1 turn to 9, 2 turns to 7. Waste on land, waste on land. No, I think it's actually fine if I sack the Dryad Arbor here. Because I do want the black source. I do want all my colors online. They're gonna Brainstorm, okay. They drew a fetch. There is a world as well where it's better to take the planes away to take them off Massacre. Holding Bog is also quite nice. Yeah, holding Bog is actually quite nice as well. I probably should have thought about that a little bit more. I'm just not used to playing Bog in Mav. But that's not an excuse. That is not an excuse. Oh, really? Now I'm pretty happy to hold up the Bog. Yeah, having the 2 Thalias was really nice, as I know they're not on Cabal Therapy, and it makes Thoughtseize obviously a little bit less powerful. Alright, they're going to go for it. Dark crit. See, I could bog now to stop threshold, but I don't think that's worth it. I'd rather try to snag this past in flames. Did they not? Maybe they didn't hold priority there with the LED. I think that's probably what happened there. Unless they just didn't have a line, but we got there. And like that's a really good representation of sometimes how card quality is much better than card quantity. So against a deck like Ant, I obviously just want to try to mulligan to a turn 1 play. Or in that case, like get to 4 and just kind of readapt and say, hey, we're probably not winning this game on 3, so let's keep a really good 4 of double Thalia, double land, or once that'll most likely find land. And thankfully it paid off. Like, runner, double Thalia is really nice, but Thalia into Knight is also really good because then you're also attacking the mana base, which is great with Thalia in play. We lost the first round against a Saga Asphodel deck that played Balance or Restore Balance, which was pretty cool, pretty sweet. But could have played a bit tighter for sure. I think the matchup overall seems pretty good, but it just comes down to like, yeah, little misplays that definitely snowballed. All right, Granham. See how this goes. Granham typically on D&T. This hand is quite nice versus combo. I'm actually not sure what they're on. So the question is, would I keep this in the blind? And I don't think I would, but it's interesting. The fetchers don't get planes, which is obviously relevant against a Wasteland deck. I think I'm happy to mulligan once towards like a Noble Hierarch start with like a Swords to Plowshares. This is close. I'll keep this and bottom the Dryad Arbor. Bayou. Thoughtseize. Okay. They take the bird. Okay. Interesting. Green Suns doesn't do a whole lot just yet. I don't mind taking them off Bayou, but it's definitely tough. Like this could be like a green-black depths deck. Where I want to hold the Wasteland. But you never know. Grove. Jund, potentially? I don't think I want a Green Suns just yet, because again, like double green doesn't really do anything. Okay. Sure. Looking like just old school mid-range Jund. Thoughtseize and Bayou take me off me thinking this is like a lands deck. Yeah, alright. Well, now we're just going to go for... Like, even if we can take them off this Wasteland, I'm pretty happy. They do get to replay Punishing Fire, but at this stage, I think just taking Dried Arbor out of the deck is fine. Come on, fetch land. Yeah, it still eats that turn, which is pretty relevant. Bob. Okay. Wolf. It is just going to be Jund. That's cool. Ugh. I think it's just going to be the second Thalia, because at least if we draw any land, we can cast the Oof. Take the sword. I guess we could have endured my opponent there, but... Okay. Allow them to have it. Cast it. And then endurance now. Not great, but I'm pretty close to discard it anyway, so... I can only assume my opponent has another removal spell in hand, so having the Dryad here as a sack creature is probably just irrelevant. Yeah. Yeah, Waste Arbor as well. This game was definitely over by turn 3, unfortunately. The one land for 8 turns just is not that great when they have a Bob out as well. See what they reveal. Bayou. Tough. Not too much to bring in. I don't mind the engineers, and I don't mind just taking out the Teeg and the Oof. I don't think Opposition Agent is really relevant, but potentially better than like a Thalia and a Spirit as just a flash creature. Thoughtseize is definitely not where I want to be. I think this is just going to be it. But it's going to be tough. I think Jund has a really good matchup against creature decks. Obviously with Punishing Fire as well, that it's going to be pretty tough. Yeah, Granham was just in chat. Alright. I don't mind this. Especially with second once. I will play the second Windswept just because it can allow the Knight to come down as a 4/4 next turn. But hopefully I can go something like even Swords Dryad Arbor. Okay. I also don't mind just taking them off mana here. I don't believe they play crop rotation, so I'm happy to do this now. Tough one. It could just be Thalia. Thalia eats a bolt, but that's not the worst. I don't really want to take the Agent because they know about it. I don't mind Thalia as it plays around Liliana a little bit. It's going to fetch now to play around an opposing. Library's pretty good. I think now it's just going to be Dryad Arbor into Night. Yeah, fetching the Arbor first means I can play around Sudden Edict, but they could also just have, like, removal spell, but it would be tough with double... They can't have, like, Liliana and, say, Bolt, because they need, I guess, double red, or red and double black. Plague's okay. Plague's annoying, but not too bad. Okay. Obviously Endurance here is pretty brutal. So I think I just want to hold up Solitude by getting Cradle. Yeah, honestly, we don't have a great play around the library, unless we draw into an actual removal spell for the library, but that's pretty slim as we're not running Prismatic Ending in this build. It only has to be Outland Liberator. So I think just holding up Solitude here is best, because we can't really attack into a Endurance. Probably just want to discard the Plague here. Okay, now we have a small window. Because now we can go and get Cradle. Oh, we do need to land off the top. 2, 3, 4. Oh, so close. Attack them, which means I can't take an extra card off the Sylvan Library. Sure. This is Jund. Yeah, sadly the advertisements are new to Twitch, which is really annoying. I definitely don't like it. Alright, so they have one card. I guess they could have Endurance. That would kind of suck. which means I want to attack with just one creature. I might be able to... I should definitely look into it. Because I'm not a big fan of ads during a stream. Alright. Tough. Actually, we have no green mana, which is pretty big. Yeah. I don't think we're going to be able to get the 3 through with the Bob and the Sylvan. But the deck was definitely interesting. So, yeah, Newton's take was kind of like playing a version of the deck without a lot of the smaller creatures that have some impact in some games, and then just playing a little bit more, yeah, of a 4-of build, which I did like. I think the Prismatic Ending would be quite cool in this list. Teeg was nice against the Ant player, but otherwise it is a little bit 2020, a little bit like a like Scavenging Ooze, but yeah, overall the deck is pretty nice. I think I'd definitely like to find room for Prismatic Ending in here for sure, but that's life. But yeah, that's gonna be me. A huge thank you to you guys for coming in and watching. I'm gonna see who else is streaming, and it looks like Tagoras is streaming, which is nice. But yeah, you're welcome, guys. Did you test one Hex? Yeah, Hex is tough. I haven't played Hex Drinker because of Prismatic Ending, which is a bit of a blowout when you're putting so much mana into it, but yeah, can be, I could see it in potentially like a 4-mum build, but otherwise I just think it's a little bit too much resource for not enough gain, but I'm keen to see it get tested otherwise. But hey, enjoy, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks.